good morning. This is Jean here, Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for you. Hope you're having a good day. I have a tutorial coming up after this little introduction, but I want to explain something. I'm going to be taking just a small little break. I am working on my block party, so I have some videos to put up for my applique, so that I will be putting them up in a little while. But we have some things going on in our family, which I'll tell you about a little bit later. But for now, what I am doing is I am going to be re-releasing some videos that are several years old. Now, you haven't seen these, you YouTube family of mine, because these were exclusive Patreon videos from several years ago. I have a Patreon account, as you know, where you can come and see my exclusive videos, small little videos that I've done over the years. I do about one every 5 or 6 weeks for my exclusive patrons who actually leave me a tip in my tip jar in my sewing room via the Patreon account page. Very kindly, they're contributing here so that I can continue to make my videos here a little bit easier. So what I'm doing is I had these videos, sort of like a backlog of unseen to the masses, my videos, and that I thought, well, they're sitting in my computer, why not show you some of these tutorials? Now, I do have to explain something that these were taken several years ago. I'm not in this home. I'm in my old home. I'm in my old sewing room. I had an older camera. I hope I have gotten a little bit better with my editing and with my filming and the videoing, and I'm much thinner. Don't judge. And I'm a little bit all over the place, but I think at the end of the day, you'll cut through all of that if you're interested in watching this video coming up, which is a sort of not an insulated, but a heat-resistant curling iron holder, travel holder. That's all, just a little holder. And what happens when I make a Patreon video is I'll do the tutorial, and then over on Patreon, every month I announce who's won the previous month's little project. That's when it says win the project of the month. That's what I do. I choose somebody from my Patreon list and I send them the actual project. So somebody won a couple years ago my flat iron holder, my curling iron holder that I've done this tutorial on. But I thought instead of wasting those videos just languishing in my computer, my son Elliot had just come and he was saying, I was saying, there's things going on. Again, my creative juices aren't flowing quite as well with the pandemic fatigue. So he says, Mom, he said, you have all those videos sitting in your computer. Why don't you re-release them? Do a rerun. So that's what you're going to be watching. But they're fresh to you, the majority of you people, because I believe that I only had about 13 or 14 views from my patrons way back when. I've gotten a few more patrons to watch this video. So it'll be new to you, but it's old, and again, you have to forgive me, or understand, not forgive me, understand that I've come a little way in my actual videoing, but the tutorial, I think, what I always say, I get there in the end. So this is a re-release. I think I'm going to be doing this every so often, because again, I have these videos from my patrons. I don't think it's fair that I release a Patreon video a week later, because that's not fair to patrons. They're paying for something a little bit more exclusive, but these are years old. These are years old videos. So I hope my patrons don't mind that I'm sharing these with my general subscribers here on YouTube. So I hope you enjoy it for what it's worth. And yeah, so this is a re-release again for my YouTube friends and family out there. And again, I appreciate all of your support, my patrons especially, and all my YouTube family out there. So again, love from the Trueloves. Enjoy this tutorial. See you later. Bye. Good morning, patron people. Hope you're having a lovely day. What I am going to be showing you today is how I've made either a flat iron or a curling iron or a hot brush travel holder. insulated travel holder. If you're out, if you go on vacation and the last thing you're doing is curling your hair or flat ironing your hair, which I've never done in my life, so I don't own a flat iron. I have a curling iron, which their age is old. Their age is old because I just put my hair up. I don't curl or flat iron or comb my hair hardly at all. But if you guys do, and it's the last thing you do in your hotel room, you realize, oh my goodness, I have to wait till this thing cools down. I don't want to put it in my suitcase. So what I have made here, handy dandy, this is a large one. This is a large insulated or, insulated flat, curling iron holder or flat iron holder. And what it is, this is a big one because the only thing I have is a large, well, I have a small one and a large one. And I've made this little holder. It's a quilted little bag and with self ties, and it's bound with a bias binding, a packaged bias binding, and I'll tell you what you need to make this. Now I can't give specific sizes because your flat iron could just be this big. I know my daughter has a flat iron and it's just that. It's about that big. So I'm going to be giving you approximate sizes. Now I'm making my next one. I will be making, this is sort of my prototype. I'll be making another one with a small, just a bit smaller for my, for this sort of a hot brush here. This is smaller than this one. But I'll be giving away to two people if you want them, two different people. This one and my next one that I'm going to be doing my tutorial on. So this one I want to show you is I have a fairly large curling iron, and as you can see I've quilted this and I've made it so this is a big honking thing, and then the cord goes into the other pocket here. So there's two pockets, and I was thinking about it. You could I have it tied. I have my cord neatly tied with a rubber band. You could put your hair ties, right? These scrunchy hair ties around here, and then on this pocket, this goes in here, and this goes in here. You could put some hair clips, you know, on these pockets, and then the whole thing wraps up really nice and neat, like this over here, with a nice tie, which I've really reinforced. Now, what I have used in the pocket, you're thinking, well, it's a quilted. No, it's not. I just want to show you. I have purchased this ironing board cover. It's a silvered fabric ironing board cover fabric. And when I do the tutorial, I have lined this pocket and I've lined the inner pocket. So the entire, if it was a hot barrel or a hot iron, will not scorch and it won't come through because these are lined, and I've double lined them. I have used 2 layers on the pocket and I've used 2 layers on the backing just to be sure. So you have 3 layers of your pocket, and then you have 2 layers of insulating gray, silver, 1 layer of batting, and then the outside layer. So this thing is substantial. This thing is substantial. You may not even want it as substantial as this, but I err on the cautious side, and I have used 2 layers. So there's 4 layers of this silvered ironing board cover fabric, just as I say, to err on the cautious side. And so there you have your little, you put your hot iron in this pocket over there, fully insulated. You can put it in hot, and then you put your cord into that pocket, real nice and neat. And I could have left it open, but I decided to do a little flap there, and I've curved the corners. And then you can, it just makes a nice, neat, tidy little package. Now I've used a self binding that matches my, I use this fabric on the outside and then a pink dot on the inside. And then I did this, but you could just use a piece of cording. And it's about a yard of cording that you would need. So I'm gonna tell you what you need to make this. Again, this is a large one because my curling iron there is large. But by all means, you could, you wouldn't have to make it that large. And I'm not going to be making it as large for my next project. So somebody who wins, ding, 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 is going to get a large one, and then someone's going to get a medium-sized one. And I was looking at this, I thought, it could be, take away the curling iron. You could, what else could you use it for? don't know, if you could go to the beach or something and you could put some stuff in there. I don't know. Or it's just it's a nice little holder all around. It's a sweet little holder. I have no idea. Maybe even I don't know, maybe even diapers or something like that, some wipes or something, or whatever. But this is what it is. I've used insulating silvered in there, and you can't see it, but the silver is in here also on that side. So, tutorial to follow. I hope you love them. This is a tutorial for my insulated or my heat resistant curling iron holder, or my a flat iron holder. Nice little tidy little package there. And that one, as I said, is for a larger one. I'm just for demonstration's sake, I'm using this small curling iron here, hot brush, which I've sort of collected together. And this is the reason I can't give you specifics, because as I said, your flat iron might just be like that. And so I'm just going to show you the method as opposed to the sizes, because you can cut your own size, because you might have a very slim one, you might have a bulkier one, and so but this will give you a general overview of what you need to cut. Now, I've decided to do my flap over, and that's how I'm going to do it. And I've decided to use these self ties. However, if you wanted to just use a cord, you would just need about a yard of cording, which might be a bit easier, because I have a special tool to turn these. But I'll show you that. And then we're just going to curve it. And a pack for this one, I've run out of my, where is it? I've run out of my, my darker pink, so I'm just going to use a lighter pink. One pack of extra wide double fold bias binding. Very important that it's biased for this project. So now, what I've done is I've taken, if you have some yardage, you can take your appliance and then you can lay it down and see how long the barrel needs to be that's hot. So if you have a flat iron, I think the whole thing is hot like that. So that's important that you realize what I'm doing here. This one, my barrel is only about that big that needs to be hot. So, but for now, this is my outside. This is the outside piece of my holder. This piece here. And again, it will vary. I want to have my flap over, so I lay my appliance down here on the left-hand side, and I've had my cord nice and tidy right there. So that might be about as wide as I want it. And then I flap over, and I like that. I like that piece. So this piece ends up, for this curling iron here, it ends approximately 20 inches by 12 inches. So 20 by 12. Not necessarily a scrap project, but small. If you have bits around, you can use it. 20 by 12. Now, for my lining, what I have done is I have determined, so here's my outside. This is what I'm doing. Oh, I'm getting a piece of inside. I'm getting a piece of batting, the exact same size. So that's 20 by 12. I've cut that. The exact size. Or it's a little bit bigger, but whatever. Yeah, there you go. So there's my batting. That's just a regular batting I've used. This is 100% cotton batting. You could use whatever batting, because you're just going to be quilting it. It's not going to be next to the hot. So then I have, so this is 20 by 12, and then I have my lining, which is up here. My phone, isn't that funny? Maxwell. So I have my lining piece, and I've cut this again. This is about 12 inches wide here. And I've only cut it to about there because I have deemed, this is this piece here, I have deemed that my curling iron hot piece is going to be there. So I need about this much here. It will be different for everybody, whatever appliance you have, to be the heat resistant silvered fabric that you can get at Joann Fabrics or online or wherever. So I have this piece here that I've deemed. So my lining is going to come to here. Now I have cut one piece of silvered fabric, of heat resistant ironing board fabric. I have cut one piece to fit the rest of my holder with a seam allowance. So this is the inside. This will be the inside. This part here is insulated. You won't see this. This will be the inside of my pocket. And that is where that hot barrel will go. Now, if you have a flat iron and it's larger, you will want a larger piece, maybe all the way up to there. And what I've done, as you can see, I have done 2 pieces of this fabric. I've done 2 of them. So I'm assured that there's no hot barrel going to be against any fabric. It's well insulated. So that's this bit here. Now, what I'm going to do, I have to iron that, I'm going to sew this piece. This is a fold and this is the thing. I'm going to turn pretty side over to pretty side, and I'm going to sew that seam just on this here. So I have a piece of nice finished seam here that's going to be the size of my holder here. So that's what I'm going to do. Forget this for now. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to sew this seam here. I've sewn this seam right here. I've sewn that, and it's doubled, okay, with the silver side on the, and there's a sort of a fold there, but that's okay. That's just going to be in that seam. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my outside piece and my batting and lay it, and then I'm going to put my inside piece, my lining, which is this bit right here. I'm going to put that right there. You can, by all means, if you want to pin it all the way around, you can. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half, so I just can find the middle line. Make sure this is all sort of tucked in here. Just fold that in half, fold it like that, and then just crease this middle line here. Just crease that, just so I can see where the middle is. So there's my middle line right there. You can see that crease. Well, if I can see that crease. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quilt this. And I'm just going to do it like I did this one. I'm just going to do it in a straight line grid. You can diagonal it, you can cube it, you know, square it off. But I'm just going to quilt the outside. I have not quilted the inside pocket. That's not necessary. I've just quilted the outside of my holder, and then it shows up on the inside. But I have found my center seam, my center fold line, and I'm going to stitch it from here down, all the way down, and then I'm going to start at the middle, and then I'm going to stitch it maybe every inch across my top piece here. So here is my quilted, if you can see that. Let me just see if that's in the frame. Yeah, there's my quilted piece of insulated, heat resistant on the bottom here, and the pretty up at the top piece of quilted fabric. This is my backing, my back. Now, again, everyone's going to be different. You're going to take your appliance and you're going to lay it on there. This is my center seam here, just for fold purposes, as you can see. It's coming along. So now I'm going to take my appliance and I'm going to figure out, well, that's this, this is on this pocket here, okay? And this cord hops over into this pocket. So now I have cut what I think will be the right size pocket for my holder here. Now, I'm letting it, just like I did my other one, even though this was longer, this is a bit smaller, because I'm just letting a little tiny bit of my holder pop out. So what I've done is I've deemed that that's a good size, and I've cut my piece of fabric according, whatever it is, okay? Again, I can't give you specifics, but whatever it is, that's how you want. Maybe you want your entire appliance enclosed, and And maybe you don't want the flap. Maybe you just want it, you know, maybe you just want it like that. Maybe you just want it like that, just and have it tied over like that without, you know, having cut this off without this flap. You don't have to have that flap. And I'll show you how you can do it if you just wanted to cut that off right there and just have it slotted in there. I quite like the flap. I think it makes a nice, neat, tidy little package like that. So now what I'm going to do is I've cut my piece of fabric, and then again, I have cut 2 of my silver fabric. I've cut 2 of them. And I've put the silver side to the right. I put both silver sides to here. So when your appliance, well, this doesn't, when your appliance goes in, your oops, this has popped off. It's going to be with 4 layers of silver fabric. So I put 2 layers like that. So I have 1 silver side down, 2 silver side down, and then fabric. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my if I can here, I'm going to open up my seam binding, my bias binding, take it off the card, and I don't know if I've done this in other videos before. I'll just press that a little bit, but I'll take you over to my machine, my sewing machine, and I don't know if you know this, most probably you do. When you get this bias, extra wide double fold bias binding, there are 2 sides to it. There is a side, if you hold it up like that, you will see that the underneath side here, the underneath, when it folds out like that, the underneath side, this left side, is larger than this right side, the side that folds over. That means when you stitch along this line here, on this right side here, on this side of your bias binding, when it's folded over, you'll catch the underneath. You'll catch it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sandwich all of these bits together here, and I'm going to go to my machine, and I'm just going to slot this. I'm going to slot that right in there, right along there, to the fold. Fold it over to the fold, and I'll work my way along. And I'm going to enclose that backing and the fabric, and make a nice, neat, tidy little pocket top, as I did on this one. As you can see, I have cut the length I've needed of my double fold tape, and I have my 3 pieces of fabric here. I'm going to just slot this in, slot my fabrics into that fold, and fold over. Now you see the bigger half is on the bottom. The larger half of this tape is on the bottom. So very close to the edge, slotting my, just laying my fabric onto that fold, putting it all the way in. I'm just going to stitch right along this edge. If you go slowly, I'm just going to lay that. I'm not pulling anything. I'm not pulling the bias. I'm laying that top edge right on that top fold, enclosing that lovely. So we have a finished top edge of our pocket. I have a large needle, and you can hear it because I'm using I didn't pull that up. I'm using a large needle because I have quite a lot of fabrics to go through. So I would recommend for this project you put in a jeans needle, a 90-14. There you go. There's that edge, and there is my bottom edge there. As you can see, it's nice and it's lovely and enclosed. So here is my top edge of my pocket. So I have here my heat resistant pocket, and as you can see, I have my heat resistant inside of my fabric here. So now when I go to, oh, the key thing keeps falling off, forget that. So when I go to slot this in, like that, into my pocket, this will be pretty much, this will go down to about there. Maybe just the cord will stick out, and then I can put the cord in here. So now what I'm going to do is, the quilting makes this a little bit smaller, so I'm going to trim this up. I'm going to trim up my pocket. You can just trim everything up, because this is what we want this really nice and neat now. So I'm just going to trim this edge here to fit my, it's about that big. Because when you quilt things, the quilting takes it up. So that's about right now. There you go. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch. I'm going to take it to my machine, and I'm going to stitch I'm going to reinforce all the way along here, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to really reinforce this pocket onto my my fabric now. I have stitched on my pocket with all of the silver touching each other, so that's nice and heat resistant for my appliance. Now what I wanted to do is I'm going to make the two pockets. This is stitched on. I've not quilted this, I'm fine with that, but I do now want to make the two pockets, which is going to be down the center. Remember, we found the center of this holder here, and instead of trying to eyeball it from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that center seam, which is right there, the center quilting stitch right there. I'm going to turn that over. I'm going to put my finger on it. I'm going to put my finger on where the bias binding is, and I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to figure out that right there is where the binding is, right there. And I'm going to stitch, just for aesthetic's sake, I'm going to start here, feeling where the binding is, reinforce on that quilting line. I mean, that way, the outside looks just as nice as the inside. Now, I have created two pockets, perfect pocket. Now, I'm going to take my appliance, whatever it is, and I'm going to just see when it's hot. There you go, that's in there. And my cord gets tucked in there. Really nice. Lovely. And again, you could put your clips on here or whatever. And there's my center. And when I go to fold it, it's really nice. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the ties for the ties. But by all means, you could, if you wanted to get a, if you wanted to use this, you could use the bias binding. Just stitch that along, and stitch them. You could stitch them to the outside of your stitch it along right there, and then just stitch it about halfway through, and about 18 inches, about 15 inches or so. That's all you need if you wanted to use this, or a bit of cording. But I'm going to do a self tie, which I'm not going to show you, because I would recommend you probably for beginner just to get a bit of maybe 3/4 of a yard of cording for your ties. I'm going to actually make my own tie here and then turn it inside out. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to attach them to the sides of my holder here. I've attached my ties to my holder. Now what I'm going to do is, like I did on my other one, I'm going to figure out that I'm going to put this in here, and I don't need as big a one there, because this slots right in there the whole way. So now what I'm going to do, get my ties out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just figure out here that I don't want that big a flap there. I don't want that much of a flap. So there, like that. So I'm just going to cut this off here. Straighten it up on the there. Straighten that up. I'm going to cut it off to about there. And then I'm going to curve. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to curve my corners here, like I did on that one. So I'm going to turn, cut it, fold it to the middle. Just I think that's just a decorative little element there. And then just like I curve my corners on my binding, I'm just going to sort of eyeball it and just sort of just curve it. Just cut it like that. There. So there's my flap. There's my flap. Now I'll take it, and it is a bit smaller than that one because my appliance is smaller. So now what I'm going to do is, again, we're going to finish it up now. I'm going to find my bias binding here. I'm going to find the smaller side, which is this side here. This is the larger side here. And starting, I started at the middle down there, but I think I'm going to start at the corner here. I think I'm going to start at the corner, just about 1/2 inch, with it, and I'm just going to tuck this. Just going to tuck that raw edge right along into the fold, and I'm going to stitch right there. But I'll take you to my machine. I've just hit this with some just with an iron, just to get some of those folds out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start. I think I didn't do it this way the other one, but I'm just going to start about 1/2 inch or so on that, with my bigger side on the bottom. Tuck this raw edge right up to the fold, right up to that fold. Just place it right next to it. I'll sort this out when I get to it. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to finish that up. And then I'm going to stitch right very carefully on the top fold, on the top edge of this. I was going through a lot, you can hear it. That's why you need a bigger needle. Just going to continue this, and it might, hopefully it will catch. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do this again on the other side. You'll see what I mean. So I get a nice. This bias binding is really stitched down nicely. Now I'm coming to the edge here, and again I think I'm going to go right. Yeah, I think I'm going to just go right off and cut it. I did it different on the other one, and I wasn't very pleased. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm just going to cut this here, And then I'm going to start another one. Now I'm going to cut that equal. And then I'm going to fold this one. Yeah, I'm going to fold this in and start a nice edge here. A nice folded edge. I guess I could miter it and all that stuff. And then the back. Yeah, I'll see how this goes. Just tuck that in. Make it nice and straight. Put that right into the fold. This might be a little bit... Yeah, we'll see how that looks out on the outside. I can always make it look prettier if it doesn't catch. It might not catch because there's very thick fabric here. But as you can see, I think it's catching. As you can see, oh, when we come to our cords, make sure that our ties are out of the way. You don't want them like this. You want them out of the way so that they're going to be able to tie. These obviously are the thicker parts. You can hear the machine. Now, remember we didn't iron this down. We didn't stitch this down, which is fine. That's where the beauty of this bias comes in. Now you just want to lay inch by inch, half inch by half inch. You want to lay the bias tape along. You want to push the bias tape up to the fold of the bias tape right into that curve. You see what I'm doing? Right into the curve. Inch by inch, just push the bias tape around that curve. And the bias will go beautifully. There you go. Oops, get this out of the way. You see how that bias folds right over so neatly onto that curve. Just inch by inch, tuck and fold. You want the raw edge right up into that fold. There we go. You're sort of on a straightaway here. We're coming to the next curve. And again, you just want to tuck you're working with the tape as opposed to the holder itself. You're tucking that tape around the curve. You're tucking that tape and just pulling and stretching it just ever so slightly. Don't pull it too much. Just let it lay. There you go. Just let that lay and do its work. There you go. Now I want to get my ties out of the way, both of them. I want them that way. And I'm coming down my home stretch here. Tuck this all in. Now we'll see what the back side looks like. But the inside looks pretty. Tuck that in. Now I'm going to cut that end off and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the other one. Do that about 1/2 inch. And then I'll finish this up like this. So to tuck that in. You can hear the machine going through, what, about 8 layers of fabric. But your machines can do it. Now I'm just going to... Now this bit looks nice. I'm going to back stitch, back stitch, back stitch. Now the test is to see what the outside looks like. So now, yeah, there you go. That folds nice. Now, but what I have, I mean, it really caught it, but there's a lot there. So I'm going to bring it on this side. I'm going to bring it on this side, which is decorative. and I'm going to stitch it really close to this edge. I really caught it. That's the whole thing. So I'm going to do another row of stitching. That's fine, to make it look pretty. So it's really enforced. There's my tie. Some of it's wider than others, but that's okay. I'm going to come around that corner. See, I'd rather err on the cautious side of it having been caught, and then do a lovely. See, that one's caught perfectly, but this one right around there, So the binding is on really lovely. Move our ties. So I'm going to reinforce that right there, so that tie doesn't come off. You know me, reinforce, reinforce. My stuff doesn't fall apart. And then coming down here, that caught nicely. And then on the home stretch here. There's a little thread. Bits, these threads, and our holder. Yeah, you can see that stitching, but it looks like just the quilting stitch. So there, our holder is done. You see that? We have our 2 insulated pockets, really insulated. We have our binding, which has been double stitched down on both sides. Looks really pretty. It looks almost like a decorative stitch. So there you go. My lovely holder is done. So as you can see, this holder, because this appliance was smaller, is smaller. So here is my, it's going into, if it's hot, it's going into that insulated pocket right there. I just tuck my cord in there. Really nice. This is lovely and snug. And then I can fold that down the same, and then find the middle, and then tie it up. And there is our lovely holder, my lovely curling iron holder. Makes a nice, neat, tidy package. That might be a little bit, no, they're okay. There's a nice, neat, tidy package to fit into your luggage right there. Really pretty. Maybe you could put a few more little bits in there, but there it is. And you don't have to worry about your clothes getting scorched or anything. So 2 people will be winning this in a couple weeks. I hope you like this little tutorial, folks. Here's this one. This is a larger one. And that. Tuck it in there. Nice and neat and tidy. And looks nice in your hotel room. So there you go. So we have a medium and a large. And I hope you liked it. And figure out your sizes for your figure out your sizes for your own appliance. As you can see, there are different sizes. I can't give you specifics because you're going to have different size appliances. But I hope you love it, folks. Okay, thanks. See you, Patron people. Thanks again for all your support. You're great. Bye-bye.